Yo, what's up, guys? It's been a while. Hey, if I ever just stop uploading for like a month or maybe like 2 weeks or so, just assume I just get busy with whatever's going on in my life, like work, family, and recording and editing takes a lot of time. So I didn't forget about you guys. It's just I get busy. Anyway, before we jump into this, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel. And if you want to catch me on Twitch, which I am streaming very consistently now these days. So if you like gaming videos, go check me out. Link is in the description. Twitch.tv/BattleGuyLive. So go check that out. All right, so 2020. When those numbers come to mind, people think it's been a tough year. At first, when Kobe passed away, we just all thought, oh my gosh, this year is just already off to a bad start. And we were in for a rude awakening with Kobe's passing, COVID, of course, the social injustice that's been finally brought to light. And if you're in the US, the election that's apparently still going on for some reason. I don't know. But 2020 has been a tough year. But I'm here to tell you right now that if you're watching this video right now, you got through it. You did that. Through a pandemic. Through 2020. And this video may be more geared towards my fellow scientists because I share some of the problems with them. But heck, it relates to anybody, all right? Let's just start with COVID, for example. Some of us fought through COVID. We got infected. We had to fight through the infection. Some of us lost our loved ones to it. We got separated from our families, locked into our homes, basically, and locked out of the labs because of COVID and basically isolated. But guess what? You got through it. You did that. And definitely pinpointing on the isolation. Some people who don't work in science know this, but the people that work in science, they are in that field because that's their passion. And that passion is when you're actually in the lab, when you're physically in the lab, for some scientists like me. And so when you're basically locked out of that passion and forced inside your home and basically only able to interact with your colleagues, your friends, whoever, through a computer screen, it can really get easy to get depressed real easily. And the majority of us were locked out of our labs for months. Like I'm talking about 3-4 months. Maybe some of you guys are even still locked out now. And that's tough. But you know what? You got through it and you did that. And speaking of computer screen, Zoom calls. Need I really to say any more about Zoom calls? Yo, how many of y'all thought they were like, oh, this is kind of cool, like the first month that we were like doing Zoom calls, or everybody was doing Zoom calls? Like, oh, it's kind of cool. We're like in this Brady Bunch like type diagram. Oh, we can change this green screen or whatnot and yada yada yada. But it got old really quickly. Zoom fatigue is a real thing. I remember one time throughout this year, I had Zoom calls pretty much like back to back to back that entire week. And once I got done, I have just like ranted to, I think, my wife saying like, yo, I'm just done. I'm done. I don't want to sit through another Zoom call. I might launch my laptop across this room. I am done. Don't get me wrong. It serves its purpose. It allowed us to keep somewhat interacting and somewhat keep business going through all this going on right now. But it's tough to stay focused on a computer screen. At least for me. I hate virtual learning. Like, period. I cannot sit still through a computer screen with a seminar, with meetings. I tend to lose focus real easily, and I noticed that throughout the year. Like, I'm sitting here wondering, yo, what is wrong with me? Like, I can't focus through any of these seminars, or I'm finding myself it's tougher to stay focused. I'm usually like really interested in seminars, really like interested in talks and whatnot. But for some reason, I was having tough to stay focused. I'm like, yo, is there something wrong with me? Am I losing my passion? Like, what's going on? But it's these Zoom calls. It's hard to stay focused with a computer screen. And I'm sure anybody that's taking classes over Zoom right now, they realize that, or just attended seminars. But guess what? You got through it. You did that. Let's talk about those that have families too. Some of you guys through this pandemic have spouses that lost their jobs, that were impacted financially, or they even have to be separated from their spouses at one point. And for those that had kids, oh Lord, those that had kids. Sorry, I'm like slapping my table and you guys are probably picking it up. on the vibration. But those that had kids throughout this entire pandemic, it was tough. Daycares were closed for a while, so you had to figure out how were you going to balance your work in the lab or at home on the computer while your kid is running around trying to look for attention. And that's no disrespect or any knock against a kid. They just need attention. And then you have to make the tough decision to whether you send your kids to school 6 hours a day and risk they end up catching COVID, or you sacrifice like 6 or 7 hours a day with them sitting at home so they can do virtual learning at home. And it's tough to just keep them occupied. You guys had to figure out how to do all of that while balancing whatever you had on your plate at the moment. And somehow, some way, you guys did that. You guys got through it. You did that. Now, like I said, this video is focused on scientists but it applies to anybody in general. But I actually want to focus on one group for 1 minute. The PIs, the principal investigators, or basically the lab heads. Bro, do you know what it's like trying to run a lab, keep a lab together, or even start your own lab in the middle of a pandemic? I don't know, because I don't think anybody done it in 100 years, so I might have to come to y'all for advice. But somehow, some way, you kept your lab together, kept them cohesive, made sure everybody was okay, and the majority of you guys were really understanding work expectation, just making sure everybody took care of themselves. So if you looked out for your lab this year, if you kept the lab together and made sure there wasn't any fallout or anything, guess what? You did that. You got them through it. Again, 2020 was a year like a lot of us have never experienced before. And because of that, you can't sell yourself short of what you actually did this year. Because what you may not realize, you've done a whole lot more this year than you think. And small victories this year matter a whole bunch. All right, so I'll give you a quick personal testimony of mine. So basically, I was locked out of the lab for 3 months from March to, I think, June. Then, as some of you know, I fractured my wrist in a car accident, and that put me out of the lab for another 2 months because I couldn't drive and I had to rehab it. So if you think about that, I was out of the lab for nearly half of the entire year. And bro, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I was pissed. I was upset because I had lofty expectations coming into this year, and all that just got shattered because of 2020. And I was upset. I was pissed off. But then I had to stop and think about what I actually did this year. I'm going to have a manuscript accepted probably next week. So I wrote a manuscript, had it accepted, and it's going to get published probably within the next month or so. I have another manuscript that's probably almost finished within like another month or so of work. I talked on podcasts, I gave talks, I've been serving on panels, I've taken up roles, honors throughout this entire year. And I look back, I'm like, dang, I kind of did that a little bit, even in 2020. Basically, a lot of us had a lot of goals that we couldn't accomplish this year. But instead of looking at those goals that you couldn't meet, look at what you did this year despite 2020 being 2020. You progressed on your projects, you did that. You worked on and or submitted grants, you did that. You wrote, submitted, or got even manuscripts published this year, you did that. You showed up to the lab every day or hopped on a Zoom call every day and attended every meeting and every seminar, you did that. You hopped on every Zoom call every day in a sweatpants and a hoodie, you did that. You fought through all of your low points in this year, you did that. You kept yourself sane somehow in some way, you did that. Heck, you found some way to get out of bed this morning and take care of yourself somehow in some way, personal hygiene or whatever. Guess what? You did that. You guys get my drift. Whether you're a scientist like me or not, 2020 was a tough year for a lot of us. And I'm sure a lot of us are ready to move on from this year and just not look back. But you know, I think we should actually look back on this year, because in this insane year of 2020, guess what? You got through it and you did that.